reviews, first-time readers. Yes, Precious, it is first-time readers of The Wheel of Time. And I have with me once again Nerdporeal. Hello, Nerdporeal.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, it's always fun. And it's fun to be able to talk about the Wheel of Time with someone that maybe doesn't know how it ends, or if they do, they haven't at least read it, that this is all new to us. So please, everyone, pay attention that the rules for the game today are only spoilers for The Eye of the World, The Great Hunt, The Dragon Reborn, and The Shadow Rising. So we're only going up to book 4. Now, which book are you up to reading at this point?
I'm currently reading A Crown of Swords. I am on. I read the first, so there was a big thing that happens at the end of book 6, Lord of Chaos, and the prologue and the first 7 chapters basically follow up on the aftermath, and of course, seeing that particular event from other points of view. So now I'm back to the Supergirls. So I'm gonna be enjoying the next few chapters there. Yeah. But yeah, without telling you anything, but yeah, that's where I'm at. Crown of Swords, book 7. So not quite halfway through the series yet, but I still plan to finish the Wheel of Time this year. So be ready for that. So hopefully book club will be. I'm looking at either next week or in a couple weeks. I haven't made up my mind yet. So depends on my time and how much reading time I have. So.
Excellent. Yeah. And that is my goal too, though I'm behind you. I started behind you though. I am also going to try to finish the Wheel of Time before the end of 2025. So I think it'll be quite epic. We can have an epic New Year's party or something.
Yeah. I already have. I was listening to a bunch of themes from some old shows that I watched, and there was a real sentimental theme I heard. I've been listening to for like the last week. So I think I know how I'm going to make my own little epilogue tribute to the Wheel of Time when I eventually end it and all that. So I have a very bittersweet theme to think of. So yeah. But yeah, I know that where I'm at in the series is kind of where it really slows down. So I'm just gonna read it until it picks back up and see how it pays off, basically.
Oh, well, there you are. I have the soundtrack that was made for it like several years ago, and I got it on vinyl, so I play it on my record player. When I read, it's loads of fun. And they even have singing songs in them. Of course, far better than anything that's on that show that doesn't really exist, that we do not try to acknowledge. I know everyone else is watching it, but I am not, because I refuse to have anything spoiled. Well, for one thing, I've been warned, don't you dare watch it, because they've been doing things that are in books I haven't even read yet in their showing. So I could accidentally get spoiled if I tried to watch the TV show, and spoiled in the worst sense of the word. But before we go into the book, it is in the chat. Why, hello, it is William Richards. Let's go, boys and girls. Yes, welcome to Miss Martin Muses. Thank you for being here. Welcome to Miss Martin Muses. DJ Play Nice. Good evening, Miss Martin Muses. Thank you for hosting. Well, thank you for being here and going on this journey with me. It is loads of fun. And of course, with Nerdporeal. One of these days, maybe we can get some of the more seasoned people, the people that have been reading these books over and over again for 50,000 years, and seeing how they would respond to some of the things.
Well, I've had Will's been on my channel several times, obviously him, all the other White Cloaks. I had one for you, and we brought Dane on. Dane was the one I probably have had the most fun talking to, especially when it comes to this book, and especially the chapters that feature the glass columns and like how significant they are to the history of the Aiel race, basically. So, and actually, really, what's funny was when those 2 chapters ended, I ended up wanting more of that. I wanted to learn more about certain characters and see how they managed to get through the struggles that they had to get through. Because a lot of them were like women and children were carried off by bandits and slavers and all that. And it was just heartbreaking. Some of the stories were heartbreaking. I was just reviewing the one where they learn to kill.
Yeah, it is kind of heartbreaking, isn't it? The way that goes. And and you're seeing it from his point of view because it's him reliving it, like, it's through his eyes. He is these characters, so you're also, I think, kind of feeling what the characters are feeling as they're going through this trauma, but, of course, as I'm reading through it, since this is my first time, there's a good part of me that's sitting around going, "What the hell is happening?" But at the end, when it all kinda came together, I was like, "Okay, now I know what's happened." I almost wanna reread this except for the fact that I was like, "Screw it." I was done with this book, was it a few days ago? And then I just picked up the next one and started reading, and I know there's many people that are very jealous of me for that because they had to wait for the next book, but I can just pick it up.
Yeah.
That's a treat.
These first 6 books came out within like a year of each other, so or even less than that. So like
Mhm.
I think the first 6 books came out within 4 years.
Mm. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, 1990 to 1994. So yeah. He was writing really quickly compared to another author who basically just bought a bar. Another author who will never
Oh,
finish his
don't
books.
even
He
get me.
bought milk bar called Milk of the Poppy. That stuff is supposed to knock you out. It's basically
I
anesthetic. Like
I was
you're
about to say, not to the just knock you out, that's also how a lot of people went to the great beyond. Oh, don't get me started. I love it though. I love it when George R. R. Martin does those kinds of things because then I can hate on him. Because I always say hate him for what he's done, not for what he hasn't done. But you know who I never hate? It is Jacob Ironside who's in the chat. Hello, Teresa and Brian. Oh, oops, is that your name?
yeah, that's my
Oh,
name,
okay. I'm
Brian.
assuming people know it, so it's not like a dox or anything. Okay.
No,
Hello, Brian.
everybody knows it. Yeah, so yeah.
They call
But
you Brian. All right.
some people like to call me Nerdporeal, but yeah, you can call me Brian. I don't care.
Oh, okay, fair enough. All right, and TSR sends you right into FOH for sure. Okay, you're using the initials for the books. Yes. Well, as always, uh, Robert Jordan, he starts off the books with a prologue. Oh, wait, does this one have a prologue? Wait a
No,
second.
it does not.
Every book except this one starts with a friggin' prologue. I'm getting confused with the book I just started because I just read the prologue in the first chapter, which
I
are
I
getting
I
longer
I
and longer.
personally think this is a prologue. He just calls it chapter 1
Hmm.
basically. Instead of it being a prologue, it's basically chapter 1 because I mean, be honest, prologues generally, especially the prologues generally cover other characters. You know, I mean, book 3 covered Jacob Carradine and Pedro Nile. You know, the Lord Captain Commander of the White Cloaks. Book 2 was a person, a man who calls himself Bors. Did you figure out who the man who calls himself Bors is from book 2's prologue? When they're in the Dark Friend social,
Oh
and
crap! I'd
Balsamon
have to
shows
go.
up and gives them orders, makes them all prostrate against their will, and then gets into their heads and gives them orders. It was a terrifying terrifying part, and I loved it.
Okay, I need to freaking reread the prologue because that was like months ago, and then, so maybe I can start guessing. But of course, we're gradually having these dark friends, or rather, the Forsaken being revealed, and well, and also the Dark Friends and Dark Aja and all of them. Maybe I do need to reread, but it is kind of fun that each book is a little bit of a mystery. It's like, who's Lanfear? Who is one of the other Forsaken? And when it's revealed, you're like, why didn't I see it? It's kind of obvious now.
Yeah, I was able to figure when I was reading The Great Hunt, I was able to figure out that there was something off about Celine, basically. So they just find her on another world. So like if you remember correctly, they Huron, Loyal, and Rand transport to another world by a portal stone, basically. And they didn't know was a portal stone. So they're transferred to another alternate world where I think the last battle already happened, or maybe not the last battle, but there was already a cataclysm, and everybody died basically.
Mhm.
The shadow basically won, I believe they won, and the Trollocs killed everybody, and then they killed themselves basically. And so there's like nothing left. It's like the world from the Star Trek episode Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, about the black and white
Oh
aliens that
yeah.
hated each other. I don't know if you remember that one.
Oh
Kind of
yeah. The
kind of
original
like
series.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah, kind of like that. I mean, it was an over the top episode, very message ham fisted.
Yeah.
Message was delivered ham fistedly, but yeah, you know what I mean. Same
Yeah,
type
well,
of
and it was a
world.
different time. See, back then we didn't mind that stuff so much because it wasn't like always in our face the way it is now and badly done. In the 60s, that was very uh, unique and progressive and forgivable. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, and a very allegorical, and a certain author hated allegory. And
Oh yeah,
I'm
totally.
not sure if Robert Jordan felt the same, but I am of the opinion. I know other people disagree, or I know Dane disagrees in particular, but I think Robert Jordan was a Star Trek fan. I mean, he has a physics degree. He brings up some interesting terminology that I've only heard I've heard in the original series, like whenever they disappear, they wink out and all that.
Hmm.
So I don't know, but that's just me. That's just me.
Yeah,
And then going
I
to
need
an
to maybe
alternate world was like them going to a mirror, like the mirror world and all that. But yeah,
yeah, maybe I would need to go more into his writings and his commentaries and a lot of his interviews. I know that there's things that you can find on YouTube, but maybe one of these days I will do that. But I'm so dang busy being too much into Tolkien for the past 30 years of my life that I'm like, man, if I have to start another author, but I do like Robert Jordan, and there are things that are very applicable for certain. We've even talked about the horror Tarmageddon or
yeah,
just like
Tarmageddon, yeah,
Armageddon. Yeah,
Armageddon,
Armageddon.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Tarmageddon. Yeah, and
And then you have
obviously,
the Seven Seals as well. You know,
yeah, 7. I mean, come on. Yeah, it's a holy number, and
so
the
when the Seven Seals burst and the Dark One, gets free, that's basically when the last battle occurs, if I remember correctly. So
so it's good
luckily,
stuff. Well, and of course, we know that he was a Christian, so it's going to seep in whether they want it to be like a C.S. Lewis kind of allegory on your nose or not. It's going to come through because what you are is what you write in many cases.
yeah,
But
I think he followed in Tolkien's footsteps pretty well in terms
yes,
of when it comes to allegory and everything. There's a lot of stuff here, even though I've complained about like a lot of I complain about a lot of the stuff that's in the books. But there's a lot of timeless themes, and especially in this particular one, the Shadow Rising.
oh,
Um,
absolutely. We love this. Well, this had one of the creepiest openings ever. We had men entering into the Tarvalon, and everyone she is seeing is like bloodied. It reminded me very much of the scene in The Sixth Sense when he would see the dead people and there'd just be
yes.
people walking around, but they got like axe in their head or they're bleeding
Hmm.
or their guts are hanging out. And so he would be running in, she would be rather running into these ladies. They're like, oh, hi. They, of course, they thought she was what? Elimindreda, like they used her real name, but she was pretending to be a lady, a different kind of a lady rather, and
A dumb
they'd
girl who
be, come on.
just likes flowers and likes to sew embroideries, that
Yeah,
type
they
of.
made her into a girly girl. It was great,
Yeah.
but they're like greeting her, and she's seeing like a curtain of crimson blood pouring down their faces. And she's like, and it says here, no one but men knew those 3 women were going to die all on the same day. Oh my
So
gosh.
when the event did happen later, I know we're not going to cover this today
Mhm.
because this is a very long book. Like this requires like at least 2 parts for discussion. Um, I was actually a little disappointed. I was expecting something, even though what does happen is an extreme game changer that affects the rest of the series. I was actually a
Mm.
little disappointed. I was a little disappointed in it. I was expecting, like, especially with the whole 3 women are going to die thing,
Mhm.
and it ended up all being like off screen. I wanted to actually
Yes.
see. Actually wanted to see some action go down. I
Yeah,
mean,
you're right.
don't
It
be
was
as
just being
gratuitous as
described.
like George R. R. Martin or something like that. But I would have wanted to see some of the like the fighting, especially from Gawain's point of view. But that's just me, or the other Aes Sedai, get dying and all that.
Yeah, I think with such a stark opening that really did such an impression on me, I think that they should have delivered. He should have delivered, yeah, delivered a little better, in my humble opinion. But what the hell?
It was haunting. It was haunting.
Oh yeah.
That chapter, that game changing chat. It's still game changer. I mean, it's just, this is just a minor criticism from me, but it like something that you didn't think was happening that he builds up to. You're just like, oh, what's going to happen now? You know,
Mm-hmm.
they still, or the way, because I listen. What's funny is I listened to the audiobook of this before I read this, and the way Kate Redding, who does all the female voices, she's like, they stilled me. They
Oh
stilled
yeah.
me. And that's how that section of the chapter ends. And I was walking at night by myself, and there was no sound. Like outside, there's no traffic at all.
Oh
It
my.
was haunting. It was actually haunting. I actually got a little shivery, and I looked around to see if I was okay.
Oh my
But it was
goodness.
a haunting. It was a haunting. It was a great performance from her. But it was haunting.
Yeah. Well, and I found it all really quite horrific. And when Min finally does come across, is it Schwan? Is that how you say her name? Uh,
Suwan.
Swan? Yeah, the Amerlin seat. She's like, something bad is going to happen, something terrible. I mean, the foreboding there. And she's just kind of like, well, okay, well, what'd you see? And she goes, you weren't wearing any clothes, and I don't know what it means. And then she says, no doubt I'll take a lover, but I have no time for that either. There's no time for winking at the men when you're busy bailing the boat.
Hmm.
And then she goes, maybe. I understand her response to that, because if you really sat trying to live your life by something that might not even ever happen or might go the way that you don't expect it to, you go crazy. Like, imagine if you went off of everything that your daggone fortune cookie said,
Yeah.
or something that it was like the way, who was it? It was Parent, how he kept saying, "Men, I don't want you to tell me what you see." Like, I don't want to know. Like, if someone were to tell me the day I'm gonna go to the great
I
beyond,
wouldn't.
I
I
don't want to
wouldn't.
know.
I wouldn't want to know either. I'd rather,
Yeah.
because I would. Yeah, it would just. Yes, like it would be a countdown. It would be a countdown. That's no way to live.
No,
Because
you
I
want
mean,
to
I
live
don't.
your life.
I want to just live my life. I don't want to think about it. And then when it happens, this is something. This is something that might sound blasphemous, but I don't think we know when we die. Exactly. I think it just kind of happens. It happens really quickly. Unless you're in a situation where you're in danger, and something, and something does happens violently to you. That's why, like, whenever I think about, whenever I think about death, and like the idea of somebody killing you, or like, assassinating, like, like you see quite a bit in this, people dying violently.
Mhm.
Like, that's the last thing you ever see. I mean, unless, I mean, maybe with the soul, going to heaven, all that, the Lord can. I don't know how that would work. The Lord would cleanse that. Um, this sounds
That
blasphemous, I know. The Lord would cleanse that trauma that you experienced, the last trauma. Like a
no,
murder victim or
that's not
something.
blasphemous at all, and not unlike maybe something like purgatory, there, that we would be part of that. But that's partly why the closest I'll get to religion, the Catholic explaining will be for religion. That's why you're always prepared to go to the great beyond. You're always doing right by God and your fellow man, so that your last day could be your last. Sometimes I'm like, dang it, I don't want people to remember me as a bitch. It's like, if I have a bad day, it's like, dang it, I need to make this right.
Yeah,
It's a good thing. Hello, Brett. Thank you for being here. It's great to see you. Um,
yeah. That's why, I like to, when it comes to like being around people, dealing with, or being around people, like when I like it when I try to approach it whenever I'm dealing with anybody, that when we part ways, when we leave each other, to the next thing, like, say goodbye. I want to think that they had, like, they came out of this, encounter, in a positive way, like they're better off for it, or something like that. So I always try to be, as gracious as I can, and be a little bit, be more humble, and what do you call it? And just be a little giving. I like to give people things. Make them happy without expecting anything in return. That type of thing. Just they come like just something that you're better off. That's kind of the mark I try to leave with people.
Yeah.
Unless you're a dick, unless
Yeah, and I don't want to be
unless you are a dick to my friends, especially because I've been through so many issues of just being alone when it comes to being tramped on by a bunch of people, and when I see it happen to someone else, I try to I just don't like the feeling. I don't want other people to think that they're alone,
No, that
especially if
makes
there's
complete
something
sense.
that if there's something I can do, especially.
Yeah.
And with social media, and especially with
Oh.
with like Steve has been being attacked by people who love the Wheel of Prime series. So there were a few times in his comments where like he was trying to make a point in a video, and the few people did not take the point. They kept calling him toxic, and I said, "You're an idiot," and I explained why he was an idiot. And the guy didn't listen to me. He tried to throw this back on me. I'm like, dude, get lost. Go enjoy your slop. So yeah, I can be mean too, but yeah, you have to be kind. You have to be the kindest of kinds and the meanest of means sometimes with certain people.
Yeah.
Especially with swine, like especially with the Bible, swine and all that. So
yeah. Well, sometimes it's easier to when it's somebody else. Let me put it to you that way. Then yeah, the shackles might come up. But for whom it does not, it is men. I don't know where my brain cells were, but I didn't catch the fact that Min was not a power person. Like she couldn't channel that in this chapter. In some exposition, he goes over like who these people are and who is Min and what does she see. And part of the detail is that remember, Min cannot channel. Like she doesn't actually know where her power comes from, and I found that very fascinating.
Nobody does. Like the Aes Sedai don't know. I mean, we've had this conversation during my book club, and it might be just like the pattern does stuff in mysterious ways, I guess. I mean, the whole concept of Taverin also, because of this critical moment in time, basically. This critical moment in time where the pattern starts to mess with things, starts to manipulate things, and that's kind of why that's Jordan's way of explaining why there's plot armor and why why Min sees what she sees, and all the foreshadowing that we get. We get a lot of foreshadowing. We get foreshadowing in this book, in a few chapters down the line. But yeah, Min. Min's viewings are interesting when she does see them. She's the least unlikable of the Supergirls. Well, I wouldn't even call her. I wouldn't even say she's a Supergirl, but I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of hers either, to be honest.
Oh, okay. I like them so far. Maybe there's some things that are going to happen later that might change my mind, but I don't like
she just,
Nynaeve.
I mean, the majority of the time she just, I want to get to Rand. I got to get to Rand. Please let me get to Rand. I want to get to Rand. So, but she does play a good damsel in distress, later. I'll say that.
Well, we'll see. But Nynaeve, I'll give you her. She's just a super bitch, and no one likes a bitch.
Yeah, and Elaine, we start getting Elaine chapters or Elaine points of view in this one, and she ends up turning out to be a B word as well, basically. Remember the letter, and remember why they're all mad at Rand in the beginning.
Oh, I think that's hilarious.
So she gives them two letters so Egwene breaks up with Rand. Yeah, so let's get all the dumb romantic stuff out of the way.
Okay,
So
let's talk about the dumb romantic stuff.
Egwene breaks up with Rand. They just like, okay, she's not part of his prophecy. There's three women, Elaine and Min and a third girl. I'm sure you can get. I'm sure you know everybody. I mean, it was obvious who the third girl would be after you meet her in the Dragon Reborn, but
Oh yeah,
um,
Avienda.
Avienda, and they just so Elaine basically is like, I like you, Rand. I want you to make my babies. You know, or not. Okay, she doesn't say that, but that's what she's thinking probably. Um, and the one thing that she does that I did like was she did teach him the ropes of the game, basically, you know, dealing with politicking and all that. Because I mean, he's a sheep herder. He's a farmhand. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything about that. He's just being right now. He's just being tough and strict. Forcing like the high lords to like give away the grain to the people, basically, and to basically make a treaty with Barrelane's people, the Mayene, because I think the Mayene were like vassals or something of Tyr. So it's trying to find a way to get them to not be oppressive or something like, or to get them to not be oppressive, basically, and because he needs to bring everybody together because the last battle is coming. So but yeah, so Elaine's teaching him the stuff, and there's one thing she's like, I'm going to Tanchico. I'm going to Tanchico because I want to go. And then Rand's like, like Guy, he's like, you're a strong, independent woman. You can go. I'm okay with it. And the problem was, and he could. I mean, the thing was, that's not what she wanted him to say. That's not what she wanted him to say. She wanted him to ask her to stay.
Yeah, exactly. And I love though the way it's written, that half the time the men are always like, "What I do? What did I say?" Because we see that with Perrin as well.
I'll never understand women. Parents
Yeah,
like, why can't I be as good with the women as Matt and Rand are? And Rand's like, why can't I be as good with the women as Perrin? And Matt's like, why can't I be as good as Perrin and Rand with the ladies? I'll never understand them. And then there's so much, like, I mean, this whole series is about the dichotomy of male, female, men, women, Sidar,
men are from
Sidene.
Mars and women are from Venus. It's a thing.
In the show, Lanfear is from Mars. That's my headcanon, and Steve, Prophet of the Dragon, agrees with me.
Oh gosh, yeah, Lanfear. Well, she is something else. But
She's the
another
Queen of
thing
Mars.
that I thought, the other thing that I thought was fascinating about this whole foretelling or power that men had is Elada, the bad, the witch, the red Aja lady. She actually has that, but not as clearly as Min does. They bring that up in this.
Yeah, so
Elada.
she can foretell things. So we see, remember Elida? She was in the throne room in Camelin with Morghese and Gareth Bryn, basically. And they basically, Rand just basically runs away. He meets up with Moraine, and she's like, okay, we got to get the heck out because Elida's not going to be done with you and all that. So, but yeah, Elida was mean in the last couple books. Like, she's just like, you guys suck and all that. And now with this, we find out quite a bit about her. We find out that she could have been Amerlin's seed had she not been so focused on Camelin, because she got a foretelling moment where Elaine would be crucial to the last battle. So that's why she was there, kind of, fostering that, so that when the time came, they'd be ready. And then, of course, she obviously, at the end of Eye of the World, she foretold. She got another foretelling episode. We'll call them episode. She got an episode where she sees Rand is, let's just say, the future of Camelin. Rand has something to do with basically the future of Camelin, and like the crap that's going to happen to Camelin because of that, or something. At least that's paraphrased. I don't know exactly what it is. I'm sure people in chat, if Will's still here, he'll be able to tell. He'll be able to say what exactly it was. So, but yeah, she basically sees Elmendretta and realizes something's going on. And then she realizes, oh wait, Siuan and Moraine have not been together for a while, but she remembers them being friends. Everyone else forgot about that. She didn't. So there's something going on. There's something going on with her. and there's something going on with the dragon reborn.
Yeah.
And so she comes across Alviarin, a White Aja. And the White Aja are very, they're very dispassionate. They only care about, logic. They're kind of like the Vulcans of the Aes Sedai, basically. So they don't really give a crap about anything else.
Yeah.
But Alviarin took an interest in what Elida's suspicions were. So
Yeah, she's paying
that,
attention. Yeah, she's standing there watching. She's got an agenda.
so I got a question. I got a question for you. Do you think
Sure.
Elida is Black Aja?
Frankly, no. I think that she is the personification of a character that can be bad and working for the wrong reasons towards something without necessarily being fully evil. I think that making her Black Aja would be too simple for a character like her.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually really good. That's actually a very interesting take. I'll say that, and I'll quote Prophet of the Dragon: "Elida's an idiot."
Well, yeah, I mean, already I can tell that she maybe worked a little too fast and that she's not necessarily seeing what's going around her. I've always said about nuns. I've read a lot of biographies of nuns, like The Little Flower, my namesake, and she living with those women in a convent all together. That's what it's like living with the Aes Sedai. And it's like, you don't have to worry about men. You need to worry about the women that are right next to you. You need to worry about the woman that's sitting there eating and, hey, would you like to have this cup of tea? Watch the women because the men will come in at you full frontal. Wait, that sounded wrong. Depending on the kind of TV show you're watching. But the women, yeah, you need to watch out for women. And there's nothing worse than women all living together.
That's wow. That's funny. That sounds like something. That sounds like something that would be said. So
it's the truth. It's
yeah.
the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I can say that as a woman, we are our own worst enemies. That and our cats who keeps trying to adjust my settings here. He just messed with my brightness, but I was able to take care of that. So in any case, no, I think she's a very interesting character, but I still want the bitch to get what's coming to her. But I like the whole Aes Sedai and their Ajas and their clothes. I think the aesthetics of them is very appealing, and the whole idea almost similar to, well, not similar to Harry Potter, but I know that a lot of the things about Harry Potter, the idea that you're sorted in to a different house, you got the Slytherins, you got the Hufflepuffs, you got the SWATs, the Ravenclaws, you've got the Gryffindors. So this idea that, okay, the white for this kind of the brown for, the historians and the thinkers, and the red who go around stilling and no one seems to like them. They're kind of like the Slytherins I found of this thing. It's like,
well, actually,
like
actually, they don't still. Nobody has stilled anybody for like a couple hundred years. So there was an issue I had that kind of, because of, the writing of Robert Jordan, I was able to, I had a question, I was able to get an answer because I was, but yeah, they go around gentling. They go around gentling the men, basically. They don't have any warders, the Red Aja. So they just go around, they gentle the men. Nobody has stilled anybody for years. Not until, well, this game changing, this game, the follow up to this chapter, basically.
Yeah.
Well, actually, there's another chapter before that before the follow up to that, but we're not even gonna get to that chapter yet. But apparently, one of the novices here, this is something I nearly forgot about, but there's actually, it's a very Martin-esque moment. There's a couple of Martin-esque moments in this book where like a minor character gets a chilling death, basically. I don't know if you remember. Well, it wasn't okay. Maybe no. There was one in this book, and then there was one. Okay, I'm getting different books.
You get ahead of yourself.
Sorry.
Well, there was one. I know that she got taken care of. The place that she took of Landfair, I believe, or someone, and she was out working on a farm, and then they just randomly killed her. If that's the chick, I forget her name. I think that was a novice, but Well, and then as we go into the chapter 2, whirlpool and the pattern, we first go into detail about the Stone of Tyr, which is a fortress of legend, the oldest stronghold of mankind, erected in the last days of the breaking of the world. And who held the stone was Lord of Tyr. And of course, there was the prophecy that he who took the Stone of Tyr in Calendir or whatever, how you say that sword, will be the
Calendar.
dragon reborn. And so now we have the banner is above there. And this is where we first see Rand as Monsieur Le Dragon Reborn. And things aren't all well for him. But there's some magic going on. And I think am I right? Did he do it or was it someone else that was doing it? But like earthquakes would happen and people would see things that they weren't seeing around each other. I'm not sure I completely understand that now that I'm thinking about it.
Well, in chapter 2 really focuses on our Taveran in particular,
Mm-hmm.
and just things start to happen. And it's not just to them; it happens to a whole bunch of other people in the world. But it's basically what they call what Moraine calls bubbles of evil. So because the seals to the Dark One are starting to become weak and all that, some bubbles that the Dark One will emit, kind of like the bubbles of the junk that comes from the bottom of a pond, basically is how Robert
Mm-hmm.
Jordan describes it. These bubbles will fly and travel through the pattern, and then when they burst on a particular thread, crap happens. So in this case, we had three different scenarios. Perrin and Fael, in particular. So Perrin's own axe attacks him, and he has to use his hammer to defend himself from that,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was very interesting because if you remember in the last book, he's always been asking himself, is it going to be the axe, violence,
Mm-hmm.
choosing violence, or the hammer, not choosing violence, basically, and creating, basically. So he's using his hammer to defend himself from his axe. That I thought was very interesting. And of
Yes.
course, while he's holding the axe, like this is how strong he is. He's warding off he's holding off the axe with single hand, and he's taken his wife, or not, well, it's not his wife yet. That's later in the book.
Yeah. We're
Fael
allowed spoilers
throws
from this
her
book. It's okay.
throws her out, and she's protesting. He throws her out the door, and she's protesting. She's like, "Let me in! I gotta help you! I gotta help you! I love you!" and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Or "You're mine," or actually, no, I don't know if she says "I love you," but she's like, "You're mine," basically. And
Mm-hmm.
we'll get to her and Berlane. I thought that was her and Berlane moment. I thought was really entertaining to watch. But yeah, he throws them out, and then the axe just hits the door, and then it just stops, basically, and then you
Nearly
get the other,
kills her.
yeah, nearly kills her. She's like, right now she's got I don't know if you know something about the Saldeans as Michael Kramer and Kate Redding say it. They say Saldea, that's where she's from. She's from that's one of the borderlands up north. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but Saldea, the Saldeans have these very bold, as Jordan describes in his book, they have very bold noses.
I know. It's like, really?
Yeah, so I'm sure you can guess. I'm sure you can guess that maybe the Saldeans are descendants of Jacob, not Jacob Ironstein,
Yeah.
Jacob from Genesis. Just saying.
Oh, I didn't even think about. Oh, I think I know what you mean. Okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Again, these are
Or
things that
descendants of Shem. I'll say descendants of Shem. I'll even be more,
okay.
Semites.
I know. I get you. I get to where you're coming from. I didn't know if you meant literally. I'm like, dang it, this is gonna be one of those things
No,
where it's our
no,
world. Okay,
no.
gotcha. Okay, because I don't know where this is all going. And thank you for describing the whole bubbles to me, because I remember I was confused, but I think I was confused because the characters were confused, because at first they thought it was Rand screwing up everything, but it really was not.
Yeah, and then Rand thought it was the Forsaken that were doing it. And then,
Mm-hmm.
of course, Moraine is basically the person that has all the answers. So
Mm-hmm.
How does she know? I don't know. I don't know, but she knows.
She's
She somehow knows about that.
she was chosen to be the expositioner for this chapter. It's like, let me tell you about this. But hilarious about the chick who came to Rand's bedroom. What's her name? Brigade. She's always trying to,
Verlaine.
yeah, Berlane. She's always trying to screw people. At first, I thought she was Lanfear in disguise when she came in. I was like, okay, she's coming on way too hard for him. This is her Lanfear trying to get him no matter how. But no, I guess it just turned out it was a noble woman who was like, I'm going to screw the Dragon Reborn. I'll be his mistress. I'll get power that way. I'll get what I want that way. So,
Yeah, and she is in the room with him when he is attacked by his
mhm.
own reflections. His reflections just crawl the mirror
Yes.
and start fighting him basically, and they start jabbing him and hurting him, and he basically he blows up, he destroys all the mirrors with the power. But then little Rands come out and they start stabbing him with their little blades and all that, and he realizes, oh wait a minute, I got, because he's trying to kill them with this, he's trying to kill them with his sword, and he can't do it.
Hmm.
So he just uses the power and he absorbs them basically, and that's how
Yep.
that thing ends. And it ends pretty brutally. Like he is bleeding all over, and
Yeah.
like there's a someone made a painting of him just sitting down, like just wounded from like head to toe basically.
Yeah.
And what's funny is, I don't know if you remember this, but when they go in to help him, Pierce finds him, and then Moraine comes in, and then Lan's there too, and Lan basically makes a joke. He makes a joke in light of Rand's situation. He's like, "Oh, is this what happens when you try to shave by yourself?" And then
Oh, yeah.
Ruark's in the room with him, and he's like, "Oh, I get that joke." And they have that interesting little exchange right there to lower the tension between the Aiel and them basically.
Yeah. Well, that's another problem that's been happening. Talk about the tension. No sooner was everyone, yay, Dragon Reborn, then all of a sudden we start to have a lot of intrigue that's going on. And Rand gets a little bit of a messiah complex with the farmers, I think, and all of that, where he's like, no, we're not going to tax them or take their grain. And they're like, dude, we have to. And so some of the lords weren't very happy with how Rand was going to kind of rule, for lack of a better word. But then I guess he just figures out, well, I'm not going to bother.
A boss moment with him, and it was really good. Was he's like, he's like, you're gonna make a treaty, and you're gonna bring
Mm-hmm,
it to me. And so
mm-hmm,
he has these two lords, I forget their names, bring him a treaty. And he's like, this treaty sucks, this is not fair to the Mainers. If you don't
yes.
come back tomorrow, if you don't come back by tomorrow midday with a new treaty, you two are gonna freaking hang tomorrow evening. And that was it. He's just, and this he's like, this was this way of saying, trying to keep his enemies in line, because they're gonna try to assassinate him if he's weak, or if he doesn't, or if he doesn't take any action basically. So yeah, so I like how the beginning of this book shows, like, okay, you won the battle, you got the Kalendor, everything what goes well. Well, what then? What happens
Mm-hmm.
next? And this is kind of what it is.
Yeah, life isn't so interesting, or rather, not it's not as simple as you perhaps thought it was. And life can be a little more complicated, but everything that you said, I really like. And unfortunately, it's like this is
Yeah,
what it would be like if the Orange Man were living in this fantasy world. He'd be like, "I want a treaty. I want it tomorrow," or he's just not
or
playing
tariffs
around.
or tariffs.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tariff your grain. I'm gonna tariff this. And I'm sorry, I'm derailing your stream.
No, I mean, I was the one who said so. So, in any case, oh yeah. So it took a little bit what it took a little bit of a while, frankly, for me to get going with these chapters, because it was kind of slow, especially after that really intense opening. But I did like how Matt, to go back to the whole bubbles thing, when he says in the chapter Strings, which is the next chapter, the playing cards tried to kill me. And I thought
Yeah.
that was hilarious. That was his bad thing. And then they're starting to see a connection with this kind of dream stuff. And that's where I just was really starting to get fascinated. It started in the last book, but now we really kind of have it where the dream world is a real world and they're being told like where to go. They're I called it Skyping. It was like if fantasy were Skyping. And, Rand can get in it, and so can, what's her name? Well, of course, Egwene, because she actually has the power to go into this dream world. And that's what makes her decide to leave, if I'm correct. Or am I getting ahead of uh, the story here? Yeah.
Yeah, the twisted ring. So she was using the twisted ring that Varen gave her in the last book, but I think she's been trying to use it without it. So yeah, Teleron Riyadh is going to be the thing going forward. So it's basically the world that the dream world seems to connect all the other worlds basically. So and Teleron Riyadh is like it's almost like a database. It's storage, and you'll know what I mean when you keep reading the rest of the series.
Hmm.
Things get stored in Teleron Riyadh, I'll say.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. And help me out here because I'm so confused because it's all bigger than life for me. This is also when they go and ask the question. So were the questions in the last book where they had to ask 3 questions?
Yeah.
That was in the last book. That was okay. So I screwed up there. So in this one,
No, they ask. Matt asks 3 questions in this book.
oh, he does ask it. Okay, so I wasn't crazy, and that kind of came out of nowhere a little bit to me, where they said that there is actually this Tangriel thing here, uh, that you can ask 3 questions. And I want to go into detail about this because this is right before they all kind of separate and go their different ways. The chicks go because, as you were saying earlier, they wanted to go to Tanrico and they all were in love with each other. Everyone was making out and all this stuff. But these 3 questions, what did you think about this? Like, what is actually going on? Who are these people that are in this realm where they're asking these questions?
Um, so there's two different so you read the whole book, so you've read. So he doesn't just go into he doesn't just go into one realm or encounter one group of beings. He encounters two. They're kind of like, I don't know, opposite sides of the same coin, I guess you could say. um so basically these 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 beings basically resemble snakes and foxes. So they're basically, I'm guessing they're crafty by nature. I mean, foxes are crafty. I mean, I remember the foxes being crafty from, like, what was that old story? The fox or the story of the gingerbread man,
Oh yeah,
and
all
the
of those
fox and all
stories.
that. And then, of course, when it comes to snakes being crafty, the Book of Genesis, obviously, with the
Hmm.
serpent and Eve and all that. Um, at least that's what. At least this is my take. Um, but basically, um, there's these two races called the eelfin and the aelfin. So the eelfin are the foxes, and the aelfin are the snakes. And they live in this realm, and the Terangriel is basically a twisted red stone doorway, basically. So it's this
Hmm.
thing that's upright no matter what. It doesn't need to be supported really by anything. You walk in there, and you're in this other realm, basically. This realm is unexplainable to a mortal's perception, I guess. So um, so Matt goes and encounters this Aelfin, and these Aelfin people right here, and well, he asks a question, because the thing that's interesting here is that they're trying to figure out their next move.
Mm-hmm.
And so Jordan basically put in this, this race in this realm to kind of answer that question. Of course, they basically answer it in additional, foreshadowing, basically.
Yeah.
So, like he says, should I go home to help my people? Because he finds out that the White Cloaks, per the prologue of Dragon Reborn, the White Cloaks have marched, and they're at the Two Rivers now. They're in the Terran Ferry. They're across the river. They're about to cross and start messing with everybody to look for dark friends or something. So Matt finds out about it. Perrin finds out about it. Matt doesn't know whether he should go back to the Two Rivers or if he should stay with Rand. So he's like,
Mm-hmm.
should I go home to my people? And they're like, no, you must go to Roydion, where the Aiel city. And he's like, why? Well, if you don't go to Roydion, you'll die. And then he's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, his third question is like, well, why will I die if I don't go to Roydion? And they're like, well, you're messing with fate here, buddy. Your fate's gonna drift, and you're gonna be killed by those who don't want to see this fate fulfilled, basically.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great way. I thought it was a great writing right there. The not Martin, way Jordan. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
You're
Way
forgiven.
Jordan,
You're forgiven. We
way
were
way
talking
Jordan.
about forgiveness and being good Christians.
Exactly, the way Jordan wrote this. So I thought it was great, and he does ask, and right when they're about to carry him off, because they're hearing a bell, and apparently he's not the only one that's there asking questions. Apparently, Rand is there and Moraine is there,
Yeah.
and he's just like, "What fate are you talking about?" And they're just like, "Well, you're going to marry the daughter of the Nine Moons, and you know what else you're going to do? You're going to die and live again, and live once more a part of what was." And then the last thing they say is, you're going to give up half the light of the world to save the world. So, that's some more foreshadowing. There's some more, foreshadowing for the character right there. So,
Yeah. And of course, we have no idea what the hell most of that even means.
so I'm a little further.
Yeah.
I'm curious. What do you think the third one means?
Now, the third one, you see, I'm trying to find this here because I can't find this in the chapter. So, wait, which one was the third one?
The third one is to give up half the light of the world to save the world.
Well, that probably has something to do with the yin and the yang, the whole half power of the women and half power of the men. I forget which one of them called. And then they're all together and they make this seal thing. Something kind of close to that, maybe?
Interesting. I'll let you read and find out.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. But here's the thing. He was only allowed to have 3 questions, but they still answered the other questions. And so for me, that almost seemed like cheating. It's like, hey, if those are the rules, that's the way the rules are. You have to come back by midnight or else you're going to turn into a pumpkin. Well, they were only supposed to have 3 questions, but they did answer the question when he kept demanding. So I don't know why they did that.
They wanted to get rid of him, basically. I don't know.
Oh,
Honestly, I
okay.
don't know, but
Like,
they're
why did
like,
they just let him die then? I don't understand that. It seemed to
uh,
me like that was cheating.
I don't know either. We'll have to. I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not that much further. Um, but I'm curious if we encounter these races again. So, um, but yeah, but this basically kind of pointed like, okay, this is where we need to know where the characters are going. And then of course we find out Moraine and Rand also went in and encountered these Aelfin. But there's a difference though between them and Matt. Matt was able to understand the Aelfin. They needed a
Mm.
translator. They
Yes.
didn't understand them. You know why? Because Matt knows the old tongue.
Yeah, I was going to say Matt can speak in tongues.
Yeah,
And
well, yeah,
that
because if you remember in the first book, he screams out something when they're in the when they're battling the Trollocs that have been pursuing them right before they get to Shader Logoth.
yeah. And he's
And
saying it all in the old tongue, and he doesn't even realize that he's saying it in the old tongue. And they're all like, "Dude, what were you saying?"
yeah, and I was the same way, like, because it was when I first read the Eye of the World years ago and stopped, I was like, where did this come from? Like, it
Mhm.
just happened. So I don't know.
It has
So
something to
that
do with the past life he was leading, I think, if I'm guessing. I don't know. Maybe. Well, we'll see. I know because they've all led past lives. They've all been reincarnated, from what I understand, or at least the Tangriel, not the Tangriel, the Taveran have, from what I get, because they all expect that they're going to be reincarnated.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, and that,
generally, yeah. So I don't think nobody ever remembers their past lives though, but like you'll find out how souls are kept basically.
oh,
So
interesting. All right, so they're going to go into detail. There is a part of me though that almost wishes he would keep it as a mystery because there's some things just like what we don't understand.
hmm yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Um, so I got a question. What did you think of the Maiden's Kiss?
Oh, the game that they play, but that's not really
Yeah,
a game.
like they
It's
say,
creepy.
hey buddy, they're like, hey buddy, let's do the Maiden's Kiss. They're like, oh sure. And so poor Matt was dumb enough to try it. And so the first thing they do is they stick their spear at his neck, and he's like, and they're
Yeah,
like, you better kiss well, and if you don't, we're gonna push it a little further in, you know.
yeah.
So that's basically how that game works. And they try to get Perrin to do it, and Perrin's like, no.
No. Well, it's like their version of Russian roulette almost. It's like there's something really wrong about it.
It's messed up. Yeah, these IO maidens are the far derized my. They're messed up in a way,
Mhm.
messed up games. But then again, that's the IEL. The IEL are not supposed to make sense.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say there was also a great tragedy that happened before Rand left, that the dead Aiel, like they were all attacked at the stone, and Lanfear was kind of keeping Rand, not hostage, rather. He was yapping with her. And then he's like, "What did you do to the Aiel outside?" She said, "Nothing," but they were actually all dead. And it
Yeah,
was, and
yeah.
there were
The
fades.
that's a great moment. I made an intro for my Shadow Rising book club. We're kind of recounting that part of the book. So basically, Celine shows up, and she's like, "I'm not Celine. I'm Lanfear, and I
Mm-hmm.
want you to love me. I want you to join me, Luce Theron, Randall
Mm-hmm.
Thor, whatever. I forget if she calls him Randall Thor
She
or Luce Theron.
No, she calls him always Luceren. Now that
Yeah,
she,
and I want you to join me, and we can, you know what? We'll be the top. You know, we don't even need the Dark One. We can get rid of him, and we have a
mm-hmm.
ways to do it. And I can help you with channeling. We have Asmodean. Asmodean can help with the channeling and all that. And just the three of us will rule the world together.
Yeah, we will join me, son, and we shall rule the galaxy as father and son. Yeah. So
I'll never join you, Landfair. You know.
yeah, exactly. Now, I think that it's very well done. Every time Lanfear shows up, that there was always a great sense of foreboding because nothing good is going to happen. That she is a piece of work. Well, all of the Forsaken are, obviously, because they're like the key to Armageddon or Tarmageddon that is going to occur. So it makes sense that they all then did have to go all their separate ways, with, as we said, Egwene getting the dream that she had to go to the Aiel, and Moraine is going to go with Rand, and then Lan, and they're going to separate out. And Perrin, he knows that he is supposed to go to his home. He's supposed to go home to the, gosh darn it, why did that name just go right out of my head? Amon
Two
Field,
Rivers.
his original. village that he left. Now, he found that during one of his wolfy dreams. So even though he's not necessarily been established as a dream walker or something, but it seems like he can do it too. So I'm not sure I get that.
Yeah. Um, what did you think of them Egwene and Nynaeve and Elaine, like questioning those Black Aja that they captured at the end of The Dragon Reborn, and finding out about Tanchico? Um, so apparently in Tanchico, there's basically a dom that can be used to control a dude, a male channeler. So um, I honestly was kind of expecting that particular item to be in a certain book, but it didn't. It wasn't in a certain book.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious what's going to happen with this thing. I haven't gotten that far yet to seeing what ultimately happens to that Adam that they get in Tanchico. But I know it's way down the line. But they find out about it from from Joya and Amiko, the two Black Aja sisters that they have shielded
Mm-hmm.
from the power, and
I thought it was pretty powerful. For one thing, these Black Aja, you know that they're evil, but you almost kind of start to feel a bit sorry for them because without their power, they really are pathetic. And I'm not saying that they were necessarily torturing them, but they couldn't move. They were all being held still and they had to answer these questions. They ended up, of course, getting killed. But I found, well, they kind of were giving them their MacGuffin, if for lack of a better word. Like, you must
side
go and you
quest.
must find this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically they had to give them something to do. So this was it. So they go there, and then they keep looking for the Black Aja, and yeah, they ultimately do that. And then of course with we talked about Elaine already, and and Matt. Um, so Matt, basically the reason why Matt went through those doorways is because he's just like, he's conflicted. He doesn't know what to do. He wants to get out. He wants to get out of there. He's afraid of Rand. He feels, the way Rand feels about himself. That's how Matt feels about him. Basically, he's
Mm-hmm.
like, if I stay with him, I'm going to die. And he's just people. He draws bad people to him. He draws shadow spawn to him. And then there's also the threat of him going insane, because everyone knows a male channeler will eventually go insane before they die, and they can cause a lot of damage, like the breaking of the world, basically. So that's why they never want to repeat that. That's why people are afraid. People are afraid of male channelers in general. So,
Well, with
but
good
there,
reason.
yeah. So I liked the chapter where he's hanging, he's chilling with Tom Maryland, because him and Tom were were road buddies. He pairs up with him in the Dragon Reborn, basically, and they basically play a game. And I think Tom tells him a little bit about I'm trying to remember what exactly. What was it? What chapter was it? Okay, yeah, talking about like the game of houses, and about um about the cards and all that, basically a follow
Oh,
up to
yeah.
the bubbles of evil and all that. um he just basically says, hey dude, you're Taverin, basically. You're
Mm-hmm.
Taverin. And I think he just says, don't trust Aes Sedai. um but yeah,
Yeah.
but I think a lot of the ideas that he gets asking the Aelfin come from this chapter, basically.
Yes. And then he does. And then Matt realizes that he needs to go with Rand, and Rand is going to go to the Aiel Wastes. And Elaine knows she has to go because she dreamed, and literally a chick, Amos, or Amy's, I want to call her Amy's, she tells
Amis.
her, Amy's, to come. another person that can be in the dream. So that's off where she is going to be going, and Moraine goes with her, and so does Lan. The chicks go off to find the Black Aja, and Matt, brother Perrin, ends up in Eamon's Field. Now, I want to make sure before we do our break here, he finds out what happens at Eamon's Field, right? In the next few chapters. I'm looking.
Yeah,
here.
they go to the bars basically. They go to the
Mhm.
bars in the dock area of Tyr, basically the
Mhm.
port the port areas, and yeah, they just find out that the White Cloaks have been marching there, and Matt finds out about it. Perrin finds out about it after the battle, after the fight in the stone, basically. So the thing that the thing that we have to talk about is the stone stands.
Yeah, I was
The
about ready
stone
to say we.
stands. Rally to the stone. The stone stands.
Yeah.
And so right, yeah, the Aiel, basically his guards get killed by the gray men. Lanfear tries to turn Rand to the dark side, and he says no, but he saves her life because a gray man tries to come in the room. He sees him, doesn't think twice, and then he's like, "Whoa, wait a minute!" And then he manages to, right the very last second, kill a gray man. The gray men in this book, I feel, got elevated compared to the Dragon Reborn. So the Dragon Reborn, they were still terrifying, but they were dispatched because we only seen them try to kill our heroes. Our heroes have plot armor, so they're gonna be fine for the most part. But we got to see them take out Aiel, and Aiel are not easy to kill.
No, that was very
So,
unnerving.
so there were 6 Aiel dead next to three gray men. So that just tells you how dangerous the gray men truly are. And then a fourth one was able to come in, get into the room, and try to kill Rand, basically. So he kills the gray men, walks out and sees that the entire stone is under attack. And
That's wild.
what makes this interesting, and what makes me think of Game of Thrones. Remember in Game of Thrones, remember the Southern Kingdoms in Game of Thrones? Remember how
Yes.
they didn't believe in all the northern mumbo jumbo, like the White Walkers and the undead, basically. Well,
Mm-hmm.
the Southern Kingdoms in the Wheel of Time are basically the same. Like, they don't believe in all the stories that the Borderlanders all talk about, about Trollocs always fighting and or Trollocs, invading and killing people. They think Trollocs are a myth. Just Shadowspawn are a myth, basically, until now. The Shadowspawn are here. This was something that should have been in Game of Thrones, but we didn't. We didn't see that at all. But we get to see it here with this book. The Shadowspawn are in the Southern Kingdom. They're in the stone itself, and they're killing everybody.
Yeah.
And
It was
so
insane.
he's like Fade. He's like, Fade, try me, Fade. And then the Fade literally rips a dude's like face off. Like, I don't know how, but that's how Jordan described it. And so now he fights the Fade, kills the Fade, slices his head in two. And remember, Fades don't die right away. They die, they jerk around, they scream until they realize they're dead. That's the rule of the Murdral, the Fades, basically. So he kills a Fade, and he's like, the stone stands, and he's like, everybody rally to the stone. And so a bunch of people are teaming up with him, and he's walking through, getting deeper and deeper into the Stone of Tyr. And the way I visualize it when I'm reading it, I'm seeing it as Rand looking at the camera, walking towards the camera as the camera is moving back from him, and he's walking, and then people are slowly lining up behind him, and then they're fighting, Trollocs at the same time, and people are being slayed behind him, and he's fighting a few people to the side. He has to stop and fight a few people. Then he keeps going, and then more and more people come, more and more people die. It gets crazy. It's just like an ever moving thing. That's how I visualize the stone stands, basically. And of course, he leaves Kalendor in his chamber, and Lanfear shows up again, and she's like, hey, I had nothing to do with this, buddy. And he tries to hold her there, he tries to hold her there, and she just like
Mhm.
easily, she tries to
That's
tie her up with air, and she's like, "Oh, your powers are nothing, kid," and all that. So, but I think you better go check on your sword. Your sword is by itself. Maybe Samael will take it. Maybe one of the Forsaken will take it. He's like, "Oh shit, I forgot about that." So he
Mhm.
runs. He tries to run and get back to the room. And while that's going on, he notices like he accidentally stumbles fighting a couple of Trollocs, and one Trolloc is about to kill him when another Trolloc basically saves his life.
Oh yeah,
And
that
we
was
and we and we
crazy.
don't and we don't know why.
We don't know why.
We don't know why. I'm assuming there's a reason. So um, I'm assuming that the Forsaken sent these Trollocs and Murdral. I'm assuming another Forsaken in their own interests sent their Trollocs and Murdral too, and they're fighting each other basically. That's what I'm thinking. And it's not
Mm,
Lanfear. Lanfear is innocent in this case. Um, I think one
yeah.
of them is Samael because we've known about Samael since the last book.
Yeah.
So I think Samael is one of them. I don't know who the other one is. One of the other
Yeah, I
Forsaken,
was
who I
about
don't think
ready to
we met
say.
yet at this
Yeah, and I've
point.
already said previously that I found it really creepy as crap the way she's just like, "Don't go outside" or something, or and then they're all dead. It's like awful.
Yeah,
Like
she was
the
willing to whisk him away. She was gonna whisk him
hmm
away to her hideout, to her evil lair, where Asmodean would show him how to be a better male channeler. How to take better teach him control of the power. So um yeah, let's just say that does play a big part later. But so like Murdral are fighting each other. Like Rand gets his life saved by a couple of Trollocs. Same thing happens to Matt. Matt was under attack, and same thing happened. Different groups of Shadowspawn fought each other, and they saved his life or something by accident. Um, but
yeah,
yeah,
it was pretty badass.
Rand runs back, gets Kalendor, and he's like, people are freaking dying. Like the Shadow Spawn are slaying everybody. Like that's how dangerous they are, and that's how great this was in the beginning. Because you gotta remember, like the Shadow Spawn, like especially the Trollocs, they're clumsy, but they're half again as tall as a man. So
Mhm.
they hence they're stronger, and they could kill you if if they can grab you. So you have to be very skilled with what you do when you fight them, and even more skilled when you fight a Murdral, because the Murdral move like a snake and all that.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, you don't want to
um,
screw with them. Yeah, no, it was a great scene, and that it all stood, and then of course they all did separate out. And when Perrin decided that he was going to be going home to his family, of course, he finds out.
I think before we talk about, we got to talk about how Rand kills all the Trollocs and what Rand tries to do after all the Trollocs are dead, trying to bring back a little girl. Remember that?
Um, maybe see some of these details. Wait, was that in the battle with the tear stands, or where was this something else?
Yeah, it was in the same battle. So
Okay.
Rand gets Kalendor and sees that all the Trollocs are killing everybody. So he somehow, with through the help of Kalendor, summons a lightning storm that kills all the Trollocs in one go, like
Oh yes, yes. Okay. All
like
right.
that.
Yes.
Like it was
Like he mows
crazy.
them down.
He mows them down, and I'll be honest, my first read I was like, really? And then I read it again. I'm like, you know what? I was wrong. I was wrong to have that add to. It's an awesome move. It's an awesome move. So he
Mhm.
kills all the Trollocs in Murdral. They're all dead. So the stone stood, but there's a dead girl. There's a dead little girl,
Mhm.
and Rand tries to bring her back to life. And Moraine's like, "Don't do it. You can't do it. You're not the creator."
Oh,
And he
good
tries to
point.
bring her back. You remember that? That was
Yes.
intense. That was an
Yeah.
intense moment right there.
Showing us that there is a power beyond this about which we don't really know. And there's one thing that a channeler cannot do, and that is play God. And he was trying to play God. And do you think that maybe if he'd have tried to or tried to do an imitation of it, would have been like some weird Pet Cemetery situation?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Because let's just say like a question with some of our my friends, your mutual friends asked me a question. Do you think he could have done it? And I was like, no. But then again, one thing that I've learned about this series is that characters that think they know everything don't know shit, like the
Yeah.
Aes Sedai.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting that Rand thinks because he's power. He's still high from the power from Kalendor. He's trying to bring the little girl back to life, trying to get her to breathe, he's trying to resurrect the child, get the heartbeat going again. And it doesn't have, he's like, he just lets it go. He just lets the child go. And yeah, after that, it does such a, let's just say this moment comes back in the next book. He thinks about
Mm-hmm.
this in the next book. So this is a very, very poignant, um, a very important moment for this character, basically. But the question is, later on in the book, when Matt, remember what happens to Matt when he goes and visits the Fox people in Roydion?
Okay, wait, we're jumping around here now because I was getting the second. That's like several chapters later, right after they're all in the Tangreal and stuff.
It is, but it's kind of connected. It connects to this
Okay.
in a way that makes me wonder. Now, my question is: remember Matt asks for things. He's like, "I want to be free of the Aes Sedai." They're like, "Done." I want to not worry about what was it? I don't want other stuff, basically. And they're like, haha, you didn't, you didn't negotiate payment. We're going to determine your payment for you. So he ends up outside of the doors, and
Oh,
he finds himself hanging on a noose from the tree of life.
okay, gotcha. I remember. Okay,
And
yeah,
then,
because like I said, I've had so many
and then
details.
Rand cuts him down, touches him. And then he wakes up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Rand brought him back to life.
Oh,
I think this is what I think. I don't know if it's true. I think Rand brought him back to life, and we didn't. I don't think he knew it because in the prophecy it says he's going to die and live again.
oh, well, that kind of makes sense. Well, and it's not necessarily unnatural because we do it all the time when we revive people, like when they seize out or whether they have a cardiac arrest during a surgery and they do the paddle thing and they go clear, boom, and you come back. So maybe that is how it was fulfilled. So I was thinking too hard.
I think. I mean, I don't know for sure. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
Aldan in the chat knows exactly because he's read the book several times. Yeah, that's what I think happened,
Mm-hmm.
but I could be wrong. Maybe I misinterpreted it. So, but yeah, the
Alrighty.
yeah, the stone stands was great. And yeah, like you said, like with the doorways, the dream world, our characters are basically splitting off. They're going to be leaving, so I don't know how much more we got to cover.
Yeah, you see, that's what I was thinking of. That's why I was kind of saying that maybe just talk a little bit about once Perrin gets home and finds what he finds. And then I think we need to save the Aiel and all of that stuff and Ruriden and all of that all the way up to the climax for the next time. And I think we can do it because, we don't have to go into details about it. And the chicks, we can go through that stuff pretty fast as well. So I
Yeah, so Berlane is completely done with Rand because of his reflections attacking him, and Mary's like, I don't want anything to do
yeah,
with you, bro. I don't want to have anything to do with you, bro. Runs
I'm gonna screw
away.
someone else. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, and that someone else's parent. that someone else's
Mm.
parent, and she does this in front of
Mm.
she flirts with him in front of Fael.
And it doesn't go. I
And
love that scene.
If now
That was
Fael,
so
you know,
good.
if she knows how to fight, she's a hero of the Horn, basically. The thing is, Berlane's a better fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Berlane knows how to defend herself. So we get this nice little cat fight going on. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I really wanted Fael to say, "You bitch," you know, something like that. And then and she's like, "I'm gonna steal your boy. I'm gonna steal your guy. No, he's mine. He's mine."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'll tell you what, that would be a kind of thing that would get chicks fighting. That's what, not at school, all the fights are with women are over guys. All the fights with dudes, actually, I don't know. Maybe they just had too much testosterone, but women always fight over men. It's ridiculous.
Usually, when there's disrespect or something, then
Oh, yeah, that's
then
what
they'll
men
be,
fight over. He
yeah,
dissed me.
respect,
Chicks
yeah,
are like, stay away from my man.
pretty
Yeah,
much,
it's
yeah.
ridiculous.
And Ruark basically says, you know, Berlane, go back to your room. You are not getting
Yeah.
any. You're not getting any meals. You're not getting. You're going. He sent her to bed without supper, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes away Fael's blades. She's like, you can't take them. He's like, I can, and I will. Now go back, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep these forever. So she goes back. I was like, you know what, this was great because I can't really stand Fael. I can't stand Fael for the
Oh,
most part.
I like
Um,
her.
and I'm glad that she got a little bit of a comeuppance here. I thought it was great.
Oh. Well, okay. Well, if you don't like her, then that's probably a good thing. But she tricks Perrin into going with him because she had gotten to Loyal and was like, "Oh, promise me the next time you go by the ways, you'll bring me with you." And so he promised, but he didn't know that Perrin was planning to use the ways. So when Perrin decided he needed to go home to find out about his family and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
that's how Fael weaseled her way into coming with him. And when they got there, of course, it found out that it was a great tragedy because his family was dead. This is the hardest way that he found out. He was hoping he was going there to save them, and instead he found out that he was too late.
Yeah, that was. I had one little criticism of that. I wish we would have met the family before instead of just having Perrin just recall it and
Mm,
then in the same and then in the same chapter kill them off. Basically, I mean, it was heartbreaking. I did feel something, so it was really well written in my opinion. I just think we should have met the family. You know, I don't know how we could have done, maybe an Eye of the World or something. Give Perrin a bigger presence in the early chapters when they were still in the Two Rivers in Emmons Field,
yeah.
basically. But that's just me. I'm sure everybody would disagree with that. But
Well,
yeah, it was powerful, and it was the one time I actually liked Fael because Fael, you know, didn't disrespect him. She actually, you know, was there for him during
hmm
this moment. And what makes it even more heartbreaking is that he never contacted them when he
hmm
left. So because he was thinking about it, he's like, yeah, I never contacted them. And then he was thinking about them, and then we come across, and then we meet, we go back to the Wine Spring Inn. Bran and Marin Alvera are there, and they're looking at him, in a different way, and he's like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "They're like, Perrin, sit down.
yeah,
Your family's dead." You're like, all of them, all of them.
yeah,
And so we find out he's got like a bunch of younger siblings, his parents, his grandparents on both sides, cousin. I don't know about cousins, but yeah, he's the last one of his family. So
yeah.
that was extremely heartbreaking. And I'll say this about I think Perrin's story in this book is the best storyline in this book. I do have an issue with how it ends at the very end with the White Cloaks, but we'll get to that next time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Well,
literally felt, even though he's Taveran, I literally felt that he was in danger. I felt that the two rivers were in danger from the Trollocs, because there's a point later where he gets wounded,
mhm.
and then we get into some other great stuff with the Tinkers, but that's for later. That's for later. So
Yeah. And in defense of Fael, a lot of what you've seen with her this far is typical young. These are young people. These are adolescents or just out of adolescent people acting the way they would, especially with relationships, with, oh, I want to be with you and all that. But when push came to shove, when her man was suffering, she was there. She was there when it mattered. Some of the
yeah.
other things that maybe one might find more obnoxious is typical girls.
Hmm.
It's not necessarily pleasant, but that's the way it is. So far, and when we really need Fael, she is there. She so far hasn't messed up anything or gotten anyone killed, as far as I know. I sure as hell hope not. But it's also very poignant because there's a part of you that thinks in the back of your head, and maybe it's going to be something similar to what we saw at the end of the Lord of the Rings, like when they came home and everything was okay. Everyone was still there. Yeah, well, we had the scouring with shower, but that's a whole other story. But they were gonna have their families ready, waiting for them after they went on this big adventure or after they did what they did to save the world. So to have him go back and realize, "I don't have a family to go back to," that was incredibly sad, that was incredibly powerful and kinda depressing if you really think about it, that he wasn't able to save them. They were already gone.
Yeah, and then we find out who was responsible. We find out
Oh,
who was
yeah.
responsible for it. Um, so the White Cloaks are there under Dane Bornhold. There's one part of the prologue we didn't or chapter one that we didn't cover. So
Yeah.
Dane Bornhold's in command there, but he's got
Mhm.
someone there as an advisor, a certain
Mhm.
Or
That's his name,
or
yes, fake
Cadden or
name.
Podden Fane.
Adam Fane.
Yeah, so Podden Fane is there and he's murdering people, and we find out that it wasn't the Trollocs, it wasn't the White Cloaks. Podden Fane murdered Perrin's family.
Yeah. So shit's getting real as far as we gotta take care of Pad and Fane, and I'm really
Yeah,
hoping, yeah, we get to see that. Oh my
and
gosh.
yeah, and one thing about Podden Fane that was pointed out to me, because of the fact that he's also Mordeth
Mhm.
from Shadar Logoth, and he's the owner of the dagger, the ruby hilted dagger. Um, he exudes this evil that corrupts people.
Mm.
So whenever he comes around certain people, they become more evil, more nasty, um, and more violent, basically. Um,
Mhm.
so characters that he's already come across will probably become more irrational, more evil, and yeah, a certain character who is also in the prologue or chapter one, sorry, that we talked about, who was who was not Black Aja, but may or may not, uh, you know, be exposed to something like that. We'll see, which is why the remainder of the series gets crazier.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, so Pan Fane is back in this one, and with a vengeance, because if you remember at the end of Great Hunt, because him and Rand never faced off against each other, he
Mm.
threatened to kill everyone in the two rivers. So the reason why there are Trollocs in the two rivers is because he lured them there. So he's
Mm.
enemies. He's enemies with the Shadow, with the Dark One and the Forsaken and all of them, and they're trying to hunt him down. And so and he knows this, and he's basically lured them there to kill everyone in Two Rivers. Basically, that was his plot.
Oh, what a bastard.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just love the way he's unfurling different layers into these plots and these characters and things that maybe you don't quite expect, but you do have to be patient because dang it, this first of all, this freaking book was like 900 pages, the paperback, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's intense. But yeah, when you put it like that, yeah, there you go. When you put it like that, I'm like, yeah, because I was a little cranky about Paddon Fane. I'm like, really, Paddon Fane, he's just he's annoying, bad, he's just creeping along, being all skinny with his big nose, and
I honestly wish he was in more chapters. Like he's usually in like maybe one chapter a book, or maybe, or
mhm.
in this case, he's in like 3 chapters. He appears in 3 chapters, but I wish he was more. I mean, I like him as a villain. I just wish he was used more, to be honest. But there's so many villains. There's so many bad guys in this.
Yeah.
This
Or
book adds
but
the Shido,
mhm,
and
that
then
doofus.
Elida is now a bad guy, and the tower, half of the tower are bad, and the Black Aja, and you have the main Shadow, Forsaken, the Shadow Spawn, um,
Yeah.
the
We
White
see would
Cloaks. I mean, the White Cloaks kind of fill in as a villainous group for now, I think.
yep. Would it be as powerful though? Maybe Paddon Fane, if we saw too much of him, maybe he wouldn't have the same impact when he does appear. That's the other thing too.
Oh no,
You don't
oh
want to
no,
overuse them.
that's true. That's true. You don't want to overuse them. Definitely not. But use him enough to have him to raise up the tension, because there's points in this book where I've gotten bored. There are
Mm.
points where in this book where I've like I'm like, where's the next hit? Where's the next hit of tension that I'm craving right now?
Yeah,
So
there's a part of me in this book for the first time where I felt that he might have done better to have maybe pulled a bit of a Tolkien, like the way Tolkien does the Two Towers, where he tells like one story. Like, okay, we see all of Perrin's story. We see after they split off, like say book 2, and then we see all of the chick story. What do you call them? The superpower girls or something?
the Supergirls, yeah.
The Supergirls. And then we see all of Rand's story at the end and maybe not have it as interspersed because I found myself having some difficulty keeping track by jumping
Yeah,
around.
I mean, he does cluster the chapters together. So like he'll tell, like, there'll be 5 chapters of Rand, or there'll be 5 chapters of Perrin, then there'll be like 4 chapters of Rand, and they're all kind of like, they're all linked up, like they basically, they're basically a single chapter. Basically,
Yeah.
the cluster of chapters are basically a single chapter. Like when one chapter ends, another one begins. So in this case, you probably could have done books 1, 2, and 3 for the Shadow Rising, because I mean, actually no, you everyone's, well, it would start off with everyone in the stone, so that it actually wouldn't work that way, the way Tolkien did, because um well, everyone was it would have to be like the first half would be everyone
Well, you see,
together,
that's
like
what I'm
in
saying
Fellowship,
is, yeah.
like in Fellowship, and then it would have to split off even further. But it's really only split off into 2. Well, not no, actually,
Yeah.
that's not quite true.
Yeah.
Rand would probably be one book, and then everyone else would be the other book, basically.
Yeah.
If you did something like that, like in Two Towers. So yeah.
Yeah. And maybe it wouldn't work, but I'm just saying that even with them all clustered together, I'd be getting through that cluster and then we go to the next, we go back to Matt and I'm like, or Rand, or I'd be like, what the fuck? What even just happened? What happened in those last things? Because it was really so intense. Maybe I don't know what the answer is, but I did just have trouble as a first time reader soaking it all in and putting it all together. Now, by the end of the book, I told you at the beginning of this review that I did get it by the end of the book, but the journey getting there was a little trickier. On the other hand, though, I loved it. I mean, I kept reading like an effort. It was loads of fun. I think it took me about 2.5 weeks to get through this one, and it would have been faster if life hadn't happened. And I wanted to jump into the next one. So what's going to happen next time we get together is we're going to probably start up with all of them crashing the Aiel and get into all of that part of the story, and then the the Perrin story of what's going on with the White Cloaks and Pat and Fane, and maybe a little bit of the Supergirls, but the Supergirls were pretty straightforward in this one. Now you're making me say it, Supergirls, but that's a good way of putting them together, at least. That they really were point A to point B. So I think that's what we can do. But I would like to start with the Aiel because that's where things definitely take a shift, or rather, when they get to the waste, things.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
Get
the
real.
glass columns is probably the most important chapters in this book. It's got the best.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great example of good world building right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's kind of what it's that, and the especially the He Who Comes with the Dawn chapter were so well written
Oh
that
yes.
I mean, yeah, it was just it was basic. It basically helped. It kept me reading. Those chapters really kept me reading.
Mm-hmm.
Like I couldn't take I didn't take. Usually if I read a slow chapter, and there's a lot of them that I feel started in this book, to be honest, I will either fall asleep or I will stop reading and do something else. If I'm if I'm really struggling through it, or if it's that rough, if the read is that rough,
Mm-hmm.
I will do that. I didn't have that issue with the first 3 books, especially not The Great Hunt or The Dragon Reborn. But this book was really kind of where it started. And it's kind of been a struggle ever since, in my opinion. But I think that's just part of the journey. I know a lot of people are going to disagree. Oh, this is the best book or something. I'm like, there's great stuff in this book, probably stuff that's even greater than stuff in the Dragon Reborn. But yeah, as a reader, as a first time reader, now maybe this will be much better through a second read through. Everybody says the second read through of the Wheel of Time is the best read. It's even better than the first read, which is odd, but with the way everything is interconnected from the first book all the way on, probably.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of people have reread these several times, and I know at least one person who started rereading it because I started reading it. And that they say that they always get something else when they see it. And I think for a fact that once I finish this entire series, I will be looking at everything with new eyes, and I want to see. Well, like for example, even at the end of this book, when I found out who was the Forsaken, that's always a bit of a mystery. Who is the Forsaken? I want to go back now and look for clues.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, that's who that person was. So yeah, everything you said is good, and I like it. I always say if a book keeps you turning the page, then it's doing its job. And sometimes I even get filled with a little bit of slight melancholy, though, because for crying out loud, the man died. I can't imagine. And
So
I'm
that's
just sad even thinking about it. And imagine people that kind of lived through it with him.
so that's another attitude I have. I've been thinking about this. So certain things are probably not going to pay off the way you think, or probably not even the best possible way, because of the fact that he did pass away
Yeah,
before he could finish. So because a lot of the stuff going up to book 11 did not he didn't resolve a lot of stuff. So
yeah.
Brandon Sanderson had to fill in a lot of blanks, a lot of blanks in order to do that. So I'll have to read up on that. I'm not exactly sure of the situation. I heard that he just wrote an epilogue, and then Brandon Sanderson had to basically fill the rest of it in himself. I heard that there were notes involved of what happens to certain characters, but I don't know if any of that's true.
Well, no, I actually did research on that, and shameless plug is in my biography of him, that yes, the people that knew him, I think it was the person that did the blog after he passed away who pointed it out, that indeed he did have notes, and even on his deathbed, he was dictating, hey, this is how I want this scene to turn out. So they were sitting there taking notes at his deathbed. It was I believe a friend of his. I would need to find the source.
Well,
But I did.
I know his wife, Harriet, was also his editor.
Yes,
So,
and that she was doing it, but like that literally it wasn't just his notes that he had left, that he had left notes, but that he was even dictating.
orally.
So
So
he was,
while he was,
yeah, like while he was dying on his bed and he couldn't write, he was sitting there going like, I'm making this up because I don't know. Like, okay, this is how I see Rand and Matt doing this thing. That he said that they actually described it. I need to go back and watch my biography. I can find you the source so I can send that to you, because I
okay.
find that sad, but also very beautiful. The fact that this was his work of art, so he wanted people to know, and he knew the fans needed to know. That was the other thing, and which is why he will always be cooler than George R. R. Martin, no matter what. He was thinking first of the fans, and even the blog post where he talked about his diagnosis, his first thing was to the fans, don't worry, I'm going to have your story. I'm going to get the book. It's still going to go forward. I forget which one was about to be published. So I'm like, what a guy. What a
Knife and
guy.
Trains, probably.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, whatever that one was. So, yes, he did. It was more than just the epilogue, that he had left thousands of pages of notes, and as I said, even dictated to his friends how he wanted some things to work out. Now, of course, Sanderson had to execute that. And so I'm very well aware that it's not going to be the same. Everyone's told me that it's not, but he did the best he could, and that we did at least get the ending that Jordan felt that he owed his fans. So I'm looking forward to that. But like I said, it just makes me very sad, because if this is a man's magnus opus, and the idea that you're not able to bring it to completion because your body betrays you, I mean, that
Yeah,
just
and
sucks.
because of what happened to Jordan, everybody's been ragging on Martin to finish it, and people have been detracting him ever since then. Like, there's this famous 2009 blog saying, if you're worried that, I know, I get it, you're worried that I'm going to pull Robert Jordan and not deliver your book. He's like, well, can I at least go to the bathroom or something? Um, uh, but so fans have been giving him crap for that, and I think not too long ago he said, well, Dickens didn't finish all of his work, so he started making excuses. Dickens didn't finish all of his work. Tolkien didn't finish the Silmarillion. That was his life's work. That was his magnum opus. Which
No, I don't think he
I don't
said
feel
that.
that way. I don't think anyone else does. But yeah,
Yeah, I was about ready to say, I need to see the source on that, because I've heard people say that, but I didn't actually I haven't found
a
this yet
source
from.
on whether Tolkien can be considered the Silmarillion his magnum opus or something.
Oh, no, of George Martin saying, well,
Oh no,
Dickens
he did
didn't.
say that. It's in one of his not a blogs.
Okay,
I
yeah, if
remember
you could
reading it.
find that for me, because I want to add that to my collection. If you could DM that to me, because I've been looking for that, and
I think it
I
was
mean,
either right before or during the pandemic. When he had a chance to finish and he still didn't. Sorry.
yeah, well, hey, I'm not here to defend the man. I just want to know, because, like I said, I've been looking for some of those, and I haven't been able to find it, because I've heard someone tell me that he said that, and I've been going through his not a block. So if you can find that, I would definitely appreciate it, because I like to rag on that man, because I give him no mercy when it comes to finishing the book, and part of it is because of Robert Jordan, but part of it is the
Yeah.
fact that I think that he has a really crappy attitude toward his fans. So, but if
Yeah.
I'm going to crap on him, I want to make sure I've got it sourced,
Yeah.
because I want to let him have it.
Yeah. And like I mean, like, all that I get, But like one thing that I will always defend is I will defend his books. I mean, the
Oh yeah,
five Song of Ice and Fire books are fantastic, and
yeah,
they got me. They did. It was a lot of even though it's a grim, dark series, and a lot of people complain about, oh, it's just it's nihilistic. It helped me get through. It helped me get through my father's passing a decade
yeah.
ago, and it got me into reading. I mean, I discovered the First Wheel of Time book. I read the First Wheel of Time book because of the fact that Song of Ice and Fire, and you're gonna laugh at this one. Another author that got me into reading, another unlikable author, Stephen King,
Oh
got
yeah,
me into reading. So it got me reading a whole bunch of books. So
yeah. Oh no, I mean, here's the thing that we could talk about this forever. You cannot compare George R. R. Martin to anyone else. You cannot compare Stephen King to anyone else. You cannot compare Tolkien to anyone else. Well, he's on a whole other plane on his own, in my humble opinion.
I
But
agree.
they were different people writing different things at different times. And I
Yeah,
think that George R. R. Martin very well writes in his work what they call the great defeat of history, the long defeat of history. And what I always say is if that's not your cup of tea, well, that's not your cup of tea. Go read something else. But as you said, it's a very good story and it's great work. And I will defend his work as well, though I'm still only on book 4 because I refuse to continue reading it until he says he's going to give us the book. Because every time I start to read the freaking book, it's because he gives a hint that he's ready to publish The Winds of Winter, and then a year later he's like, "Psych." But
sorry,
yeah, he has.
sorry, but your book 6 is in another castle.
Mhm.
It's a Mario reference.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry.
Or I should say Holdfast, because that's what they use in the books, the Game of Thrones books. So, um,
Yeah. Well,
but
that's a whole
yeah,
other topic for another
that's
day. We almost got in a rabbit hole there. But please, if you can
if
find
you
it
ever
deep.
decide to talk Martin and Song of Ice and Fire and
Mhm.
dunk on them, let me know.
Oh yeah. Well, you'll see it. You'll see it. I mean, I am begging the universe, don't make me defend this man. I see things that come out on Twitter that I'm like, damn it, I have to defend him again. Because if you're going to criticize him, it has to be done in truth. And there's plenty to criticize him for, but if you just base it on a meme, like a lot of people think that a meme that went around was actually something he said. It's like, no, you got to be fair even to douchebags like George R. R. Martin. And I will call him a douchebag until the cow comes home, until he quits messing with the fans. And this is bringing it full circle. Robert Jordan, the love for his fans drips from his lips. Martin, through his Not a Blog, has not been nice to his fans. So he's going to get it from me until he does.
Hmm.
I mean, that's all
Yeah.
there is to it. But yes, his works are great. The Night of the Seven Kings's great. Fire and Blood is great. So all that, yeah. So we need to wrap this up because you got to go to work and I've got to go get mad. But yeah, we'll talk some more, and we'll talk about when we can schedule part 2. Aldan says every time you get more sauce, it's amazing. Oh, I think it's about what we're talking about every time that you read these. But yeah. Oh, well, stay tuned to Miss Smart Muses. I got some stuff coming up, some more live stream. I also have some videos ready to go, some more Catholic explaining. Sometimes the way it's released will depend upon like a live stream today because I didn't want to necessarily release a video and a live stream on the same day. But there is content out there, and I've been able to record a lot because life is happening right now. But I'll be able to record things now. How about you, Nerdporeal? What's going on with you?
Honestly, I have no chilporials planned for now. I had one on Friday last week. We were talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 video games. I had The Legend of Leo on, and it was a very fun conversation. Definitely check the replay if you're still here. Um,
Mhm.
um, Other than that, I think this week is a big week for a bunch of us into the Wheel of Time or the Wheel of Prime series. So yeah, first 3 episodes of season 3 are gonna drop officially on Thursday. So there's gonna be a lot of dunking and crying and weeping and gnashing of teeth at this hopefully final season. That's what everybody's hoping for. And what's funny is Prophet Steve has been getting a lot of attention by show fans, or what the White Cloaks call dark fans, basically, who basically like, very bad stuff and everything. How dare people criticize or dunk on a show? They're just haters for the sake of hating. How can you waste your time like that? Just shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Go away. Shut up, people. It's people on Reddit, so the ones that banned the White Cloaks in the first place. So
Oh yeah. Well, and I've seen this over and over and over and over again, where they will say things like, "No one can tell me this," and then people will tell them, and they're like, "See, no one's telling me," and everyone's like, "Dude, we just told you. Like, where in the books does it say this?" Kind of like what you're seeing with Snape. It doesn't say in the books that Snape's white, and then everyone's like showing the line where it says Snape's white.
yeah, or
They're
same with elves in Tolkien.
Oh yeah,
So yeah, pretty
it's
much. So
really
yeah,
annoying.
that's what's going on. I might schedule something. I'm gonna I might do something with my friends in Japan, because I'm gonna be visiting Japan in a month and a
Ooh,
half. So definitely want to get them on, talk about Japanese culture and all that. So yeah,
awesome.
yeah, that's
Dude,
I'm excited.
have you been to Japan before?
I haven't been to the. I have not even left North America before.
Dude.
I've never even left the east. The Western Hemisphere. So
Oh wow. Well, you're
yeah,
gonna
this
love
will be
it.
my
All right.
very first time ever overseas.
Oh wow. Are you going first class? No. Okay.
It's 15. I to not even pick my seat, it cost me 1,500. That
Oh.
in economy. So if I would have picked my own seat, that would have been additional. It would have been $2,000 for fare.
Oh.
This is
Oh well, you're
Alaska.
of
This
course.
is Alaska Airlines.
Oh
So
my
this is
gosh.
like this is as cheap as it gets.
Okay. And going to Japan is different than sometimes when I hop across the pond, and I use points as well. But yeah, because it's
Mhm.
nicer because you get to sleep a bit better because you get a little bit of a bed and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm
like
not gonna get a bed.
not gonna get a bed.
I'm gonna be depending on some melatonin and staying up late the night before, so I could easily fall asleep.
All right. Well, that's amazing. Well, we'll definitely look forward to that and follow that. All right, here we go. Let me thank everyone that's been in the chat. We've had William Richards, we've had DJ Play Nice, we've had Jacob Ironside, Rachel Piercy Art, we had Brett Yeamans, I think, if I'm saying it right, Stable Bow. Prophet of the Dragon was here. So was Jana Banana, Adega Outlaw, Aldan, who says, "See you guys. Thank you all for being here. Stay tuned to Miss Martin Muses. Make sure you hit that bell for our part 2 for this and for more content and maybe making the world a happier place. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day. And be certain to raise the banner for the Dragon Reborn."